Things you're going to need to get started are a pair of wide mouth pliers, a pair of rubber gloves, number 2 steel wool, a flexible putty knife, and paper towels. A quart will do a small 3-drawer dresser or a couple varnished chairs. And a gallon will cover about 150 square feet. Ours goes twice as far as the brush on. I'm going to show you how to use this. What we're going to do is we're going to change you completely around from the way that you used to strip furniture. This is a stripper here, and as you spray this, it gels, and that's great on woodwork, anything vertical. When I do chairs, I spray the whole chair at one time. Don't limit yourself to small areas anymore. But the main thing when you're using the product is hold the bottle about 1 inch from the surface, pull the trigger and move your wrist. You want to get a good coating on there so that it'll penetrate through the layers. And what's different about this stripper is you're going to, instead of taking off layer by layer, you're going to take all the layers off at one time. And when you put it on varnish like this, you get a good even spray on there. And with the paint, it's the same thing. You want to hold the bottle about 1 inch from the surface, pull the trigger and move your wrist. When you get that gelling on there, that's when you're doing it right. In about 3 to 5 minutes, you're going to see all this area here starting to look like this. Well, when it does, don't remove the loosened. Just leave the loosened on there and respray. And see, each time you put a spray on top, it just keeps penetrating through different layers. Every spray goes through 2 to 3 coats. Now here's how you test to see where it's at. Just take your putty knife and pull back on it. If you're down to the wood, you strip it. If you're to another color, stop and add more stripper at the top. But the whole idea of this stripper is let the stripper do all the work and you just clean it up afterwards. And when that comes off, see, it comes off like butter. Just get the heavy out of the way. Now once you get the heavy all out of the way, what you want to do is come back and spray stripper on one more time. And at this point, the stripper is going to take all the residue off. Use number 2 steel wool and cold water and wash with the grain. Wipe it dry, leave it for 24 hours, and you're ready to refinish. If you're working on a piece that's got 2 coats of paint, 2 sprays will strip it. But if you're working on a piece that's got 10 coats of paint or more, all you do is just keep adding to the loosened until it goes completely to the bottom. 10 coats of paint a lot of times will take 4 sprays because it goes through 2 to 3 coats each time. When you're doing projects now, don't do little sections like we used to do. Remember, a chair, you spray the whole chair at one time. Do whatever you feel comfortable with. You're not limited at all. There's no toluene, there's no acid lye or caustics in this stripper, so all the cheap chemicals that strips paint's not in this, so it stays wet for hours. So go ahead and get the job done in a couple hours instead of working a whole week at a time on them. Now we're going to go back to the varnish that we'd sprayed before. Remember, you never try to strip a piece with one spray on it. Once it starts to loosen, then you come back and you respray right over top of it. And give it that good even spray, holding it close to the wood. And on varnished, now there's 2 different kinds of varnish. This one here turns to a liquid, and you can see that that's all stripped. And when it does turn to a liquid like this, it's almost as easy just to take a paper towel or a cloth, a rag, anything, wipe all the excess off. That's easier than to try to corral it with a putty knife. So you get the heavy off. Now to clean the residue up, you want to spray it one more time. If you forget to put the cleanup spray on, your wood won't clean up. So you spray it on, spray the stripper on, and at this point it acts like a detergent. Use your number 2 steel wool and cold water and wash it, and you're done at that point. If you're ever working with veneered wood, instead of the water wash, use denatured alcohol. And when you're working, always work with the grain. And when you're using water on the wood, you always want to wipe it dry. Never let the water dry by itself. You have to wipe it dry, and you'll never raise the grain of the wood. And this is how clean your varnish is. But a lot of varnishes won't turn to a liquid like this, they bubble up. And when they do bubble up like that, then it's necessary to take the varnish off instead of wiping it with a rag. So you get the heavy all out of the way with your putty knife, and then you want to always come back with that cleanup spray and then wash that spray off, and there's going to be your clean wood. When you purchase Lightning Strip, have the confidence that there is probably not another paint or varnish remover that is easier to use. Thank you for your interest, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask.